Yo, welcome to the KaneSaid Sports Show, and I'm your host, Kane Bradfield. And y'all know my slogan, the fame is free, but the grind costs, baby. Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of KaneSaid. And I'm your host, Kane Bradfield. Y'all know my slogan, the fame is free, but the grind costs, baby. Listen, man, I got my dog in the house, the legend himself in the house. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, Kane.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, let people know who you are, baby.
I'm Coach Donnie Branch, LaGrange High baseball coach, former LaGrange High football coach. Long-time Granger.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Coach Brandt, man, you got a doggone rich history, and you're still making history, man. So I want to just go back and tap into how you got into sports, man. You football, baseball, and all that, man. How did it start, Coach?
Well, first, I'm really old, so you know that. But I started out, my dad was a military guy, so I traveled kind of all over the world, grew up in sports. Okay. My dad was a drill sergeant, so some of my techniques are taken from him. Yeah. But anyway, so I grew up as a military kid. I went to 6 or 7 schools in 12 years, which I think has really molded me into the person I am. I've been on an all-white team with one black player. I've been the white guy on the team. I was a 3-sport athlete. Okay. I've walked into the school moving from Germany to Anniston, Alabama, and had all the wrong clothes on. And because, we wore Adidas and Puma in Germany, and they wore Levi's in Anniston, Alabama. Right. So I had to learn to adapt. I had to learn to get along with people, all types, all socioeconomic, and which I think has really made a difference in the kind of person that I am. Again, my dad coached me growing up. He was a big youth league coach, so he's my major influence. But when I got to high school, I was a 3-sport guy. I was a pretty good baseball player. I was a pretty good basketball player. I was an average football player. From there, I went to junior college and played baseball at Snead State Junior College in Boaz, Alabama. And then from there, I went on and played at University of North Alabama in Florence, Alabama, right on the tip of the state of Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi border. They're Division I now. We were D2 back then. And from there, when I got done, I had a chance to be a graduate assistant at the University of Louisiana Monroe. Dang. And right before that moment, I was getting married. Okay. I chickened out. Because I was scared about.
You chickened out on the marriage, or you chickened out on the job?
No. I've been married 38 years.
Right.
So I made a good decision on the marriage, but I didn't want graduate assistant jobs. Or like, man, you don't make any money.
Yeah, you're in it for the growth, baby.
Yeah, you're in it for it's for the love of the game. Yeah. And but I was like, man, I don't want to get married, and then have to worry about like paying a bill. And my wife trying to get a job, and I'm 8 hours away. I'm living in Monroe, Louisiana.
Oh, man, yeah.
And it was a great opportunity. I was going to be like working with pitchers in Division I baseball at age 23.
Oh, man.
But I said, man, I found a coaching job in South Georgia, like in June or July. I was getting married in August, so I didn't even have a job yet. And we moved to Wheeler County High School in Alamo, Georgia. My wife was the school system social worker. Okay. Because she was in social work. And I'm telling you, I believe anybody that drove through town, they would have hired because they were desperate. They made me head baseball coach, 23. And then I coached football. And a buddy of mine, he came down there and they needed a football and a baseball coach, and they hired us too. Okay. I was his assistant. He was my assistant. 1A school. It's down there by between, it's like Dub Dublin. Off of Interstate going to Savannah.
Yeah. I'm definitely, cause shoot, I played ball in that area.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with that Wheeler.
Yeah. So it was, you just go down 16, but you get past Macon, that Dublin exit right there, it was Telfair County, Montgomery County. I mean, it's like blue collar poverty, really a poverty.
Most definitely.
My players, they cropped tobacco, picked watermelons. I mean, it was a great experience for me. I got to see like blue collar kids, but I was a head coach at age 22, 23 years old for 2 years. But I knew I was a newlywed. It was 45 minutes to go to a movie. It was 25 minutes to go get a Big Mac. So it wasn't a great place for a young married couple.
Yeah.
But the people were great. We rented a 3-bedroom house in town, like 1 minute from the school for like $200.
Oh man, that was a win.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I made $18,000 a year, and thought I was rich.
You just thought you was balling.
Thought I was rich, yeah. But we did that 2 years. But I knew, man, I got to get Mama out of here, right? And I ran. Somehow the guy who was there before me went to. He came to David Traylor. Had actually been at Wheeler County. The legendary LaGrange High offensive coordinator and good friend of mine now, David Traylor. I'd heard his name, and he had spent some time in Wheeler County, and somehow I randomly just called. And my dad had kind of some roots in the area. Okay. Like his brother was the sheriff of Meriwether County for 32 years, Dan Branch. A road is named after my uncle in Greenville. So I was like, man, LaGrange is a good town. So I called David Traylor randomly and said, man, I'm down here at Wheeler County, and I'm trying to get out, So I called David, and I said, just give him my name, if something ever comes open. Well, something just popped open, and I ended up hooking up. But now I will say this, at Wheeler County, they had won 1 game, 2 games, 2 games, the 3 years in baseball before I got there, and we won. Man, we went to work. I put them boys to work.
Going to get it.
We won 6 games the first year. Second year, we won, I think, 17 games and made the playoffs and did really good. So that taught me I can get a bunch of farm boys that they didn't play summer ball. They didn't work out, and, man, they come off them fields, and we started hooking up and doing work in the summers, and in 1 year we made a big jump. Right. But I knew, hey, I probably need to go. Right. And when I came to LaGrange, I came for the football. They hired me as defensive line coach.
Now, what year was this again? Now?
1986.
Okay.
And I think it might have been the most talented team LaGrange has ever had.
Really?
I was the worst coach we had.
No
doubt. I mean, I'd been at Wheeler County.
You just come up in that thing, really.
I came from Wheeler County. We weren't very good. We'd win like 3 or 4 games. We were just like coaching like a rec league, And I didn't know any better, but I came and they hired me because it was July. And so I go to LaGrange. Gary Guthrie was the head coach. He makes me D-line coach, which I'm not a defensive lineman. I was like a wing back DB guy. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to be JV baseball coach. Okay. And I get the job. We got 26 seniors. We're ranked number 2 in the state. We got John Johnson, ends up being a second round NFL. That's my defensive line.
Shout out. Yes.
John Johnson. We got Jimmy McCamey. I got Marty Carter, another NFL guy. Derwin Brewer, another NFL guy.
Man, right there.
Deshaun Cameron, Clemson starting quarterback for 3 years. Kenzel Jackson, linebacker for Clemson for starting 3 years. We were loaded. Roy Lee Moss was a star. I think his nephew plays for LaGrange High now. Was a great fullback. Raymond Allen. I saw those guys. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, Jimmy McCamey looked like a linebacker, and I said, "What do you play?" When I was meeting the kids, he's like, "I'm a corner." I mean, he was like 6 feet, 200 pounds. I mean, so I was no doubt that I was, those kids knew more than I knew. They had went 12-2 the year before.
Okay.
Lost in the semis. That year, we went 12-2 again, and we blew up the state semifinal game. We were the best team in the state. Now, we were playing the highest classification now. That people don't realize that. LaGrange High, we ain't got enough fingers to put the rings on my hands. If we would have been playing AA instead of 4A, 4A was the highest. We played Valdosta and all those guys. But back then, that's just what you did. Griffin, LaGrange, Noonan, we played in the highest classification, and we didn't complain and we didn't care. You know, we were good. But we lost. We lost in the semis, and man, I went to work after that year. I had great mentors. I definitely wanted to mention them today. John Revere, one of the best men I've ever met in my life. Rob Ridings, Gary Guthrie, David Traylor, guys like that. I was a young, green coach. Sam Pickett, those guys took me under their wing. Man, I learned so much football and watched so much film. And we visited colleges and we taught ball and all those things. And those guys were the guys that really grew me. Baseball, I had a really good background, but football was like I had to learn from scratch. So I learned, and then, of course, you know, as it went on, you know, like I learned football. You know, I learned it. I worked at it. And I got around like Steve Pardue and people like that, your David Pleasance and Pardue. But that initial group of your John Revere's, the kind of men they were, Christian men.
Yes, sir.
Like you go to LaGrange High practice, you go to football practice, you play college ball, you're going to hear like language. And, I mean, that's just kind of part of it. Like at LaGrange High, I'm not saying nobody ever, profanity was never said. That would be a lie. But, like, that isn't the way everybody coached. They coach hard. And it's like we can coach them and say and not do those things. Like the character level and the Christian example in the community and the kind of teachers that they were. Like, and we had those guys were all over the school building.
Yes, sir.
Like Kenny Moore is teaching calculus. He's our offensive line guy. And then you got Paul Pickett and Sam Pickett are like teaching history. And you got Todd Harrington teaching English. And you go around the whole building, we had people that were influencing kids.
Yes, sir.
In the gym, in the science hall, and all that. And LaGrange High really lost that about the time that I left, where they didn't have enough staff.
Yep.
And, you know, which was really tough on Diallo and kind of tough on me even my last year, where we didn't have, like, the staff, like, all over the school. It makes a difference. Like, in the when you have your coaches are spread all over the school and they're good men, they're getting it back now.
Okay.
And that, you know, and I'm sure at Troop and Callaway, the more stable you are, that they kind of have that. LaGrange High is getting that back. But that's what I came into. And when I came in, I didn't know I was never going to leave. But once I got here,
you fell in love.
I had a couple chances for some little college jobs. And one of them was LaGrange College. But, man, I just loved it. I just loved the men and the kids that I worked with every day, and got here and then never left.
Never left that thing.
Never left.
So, Coach, all right, so I'm going to back up some. Man, you name some guys, man, like a Ramon Allen's, your John Johnson guys that I'm familiar with also, man. Man, so give me just a flashback, Coach, of something that you remember about them guys, though.
Well, first thing I remember is we did Iron Man. You know, I'm telling you, I came from Wheeler County, right?
Yeah.
We had like 30 players.
Yeah.
Right? We did Iron Man. I'm serious. We had 26 seniors. And I believe we could have not went. I don't think they needed the coaches there. You talk about an influence on me to see how something is run. Like, and it always stuck with me. Like when we were doing like the weight room, we would do a Sunday circuit after the game on Friday night. The Saturday players had off. Coaches worked on Saturday morning because we had that old school film.
Yeah.
Well, the kids would come in on Sunday and we would watch the film, and it was hardcore. It was hardcore. You sat there, you had to own it, man, and that film would stop, and boy, it was ugly.
Right.
I mean, I've seen some ugly film there.
Right.
It was hard, you know. But then the kids, we would take them upstairs and we would jog, get them loose, and they would go in there. And it was like for like 45 minutes to 1 hour. It was a circuit, lightweight circuit, which is really a trick workout if you've never done one. Because you get them on there and they're on the whistle, and they don't have a lot of weight on, and so they're pumping a lot of reps.
So they going to work.
They got no idea that, I still got 30 seconds left. And it like floored me. Like there was no motivation. Like we did no motivation. Like themselves. The guy beside the guy did all the motivation.
They were competing that
It
time.
was like nothing. That's what that group remind me. It breaks my heart to this day that group did not win a state championship, because I'm telling you, we had some great teams. I was a part of 4 state championships, but that group, there was no doubt that was a state championship group, and it was really a bunch of great kids as well. And they're Grangers, like longtime Granger people, still are. And that they didn't do it. But, you know, just because you do everything right doesn't mean that you're going to win a state championship. Only one person wins it.
That's it, man.
People think you work hard. You don't work really hard to win a state. You work really hard to give yourself a chance.
Right.
And they did all the work. And we made a few mistakes on one night, and we got beat. And they didn't win one. But that group was really influential. And it motivated me. I needed to be a better coach because, like I say, I came in July. So, and we started practicing in August. Workouts in July, but practice in August. And we played a little later back then. You almost started around, remember you started around Labor Day? Mm-hmm. And I could have done a lot better job. Thank goodness the kids were great kids and did a good job. But, like, I was like, I'm never going to be the worst coach.
Right.
And I'm always going to be able to help my guys. I had a bunch of seniors, so I could move on with my own group the next year, which helped me be a better coach. But that group always really hit me as far as just the way they worked, the way they practiced. We would go goal line on Wednesday. You know, you don't do that now.
No.
We put the ball on the 9-yard line, and it was best on best. And it was better than the game. I mean, it was you win or you lose. And it was chaos, coaches diving in the pile, excited, all that. It was fun.
Right.
You know, again, you just can't. At some point, we stopped being that, rules and safety. And
all that took place and changed it up.
But kids they were different, though, because, those kids still grew up playing outside. They were tougher, you did 2 or 3 a days, and you'd had that group was still old school. Gary Guthrie was an old school football coach.
Man, let me tell you something. I didn't ever meet him, man, but there's a lot of guys who I've been around would tell me about him. He said, man, he was a go-getter though.
He was not a football.
But it was basketball though, right? He did basketball. Right?
No.
Now, which one is that one?
Gary was a college football, baseball player. He was not an X and O guy. He was a great leader of men, and he would hire really good people, give them direction and responsibility, and guide them, but let them coach. Let the OC run the offense, let the DC, and then jump in as needed.
Okay.
But discipline, if your hair wasn't right,
Got to fix that thing.
You gonna fix it or you ain't playing. You got something to say about being coached? I saw in one game, we're in a state playoff, a guy, he got on a kid, state second round, third round game, one of our starting DBs, had a little mouth. I look up, there's a little old backup corner in there. And that guy sat.
Wow.
Like, he never said it. I mean, he learned his lesson.
Yeah.
But they knew, like, he didn't play. But they knew he loved it. Those kids loved him. If you talk to Amon Tinker and Paul Pickett and Derwin Brewer and all those guys,
they know.
They get it. They understand. I think most of them understood then. But all of them understand now when they get to be men. I was scared of Gary. I mean, like, I was a young coach. It took me a while to have a little personality because, to think something was kind of, if I say something I thought was kind of funny,
Right.
I want to say it.
Right.
But
for him, you like,
with him, I'm like, I probably ought to say that.
Let me keep it to myself.
He commanded the room, but we got close as time went on. I mean, but I realized that he's just a serious kind of minded guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't a go put your feet up, shoot the bull guy. You had to spend a while before you got to that point.
Okay.
But he was a really, really good man, or is a good man, and highly respected and highly underrated in what he did at LaGrange High.
So, Coach, what was that coach's name, though, that I think doing that, I'm thinking it was during that time, he was coaching basketball, though. During that era where, Kenny Coleman and...
That was Russ Wheelis. There was Dick Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury was like legendary basketball coach. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Won a couple state championships. And Coach Shrews he was a former football coach, assistant, but he was older. He was back in there, like, he did some stuff like with Honeycutt.
Okay.
He's more in there. And then when I got here, he was like another guy who was an influence. I used to sit there and talk to him.
Yeah.
Because he was a legend. But Russ Wheelis was his right-hand man. Kenny Coleman and all them probably talk about Russ Wheelis.
Okay.
Russ coached football, but by the time I got here, he was coaching ninth grade football.
Okay.
And he was Coach Shrewsbury's top assistant. And then he took over the basketball, and he took it till Paulie got it.
Okay, yeah, okay. It probably was then.
Yeah.
So, Coach, I'm going to fast forward you a little bit. So now, man, we talking about now. So this when I started, it's really being around LaGrange, witnessing LaGrange. I mean, I remember in my offseason when I played in arena football. See, our season was during the summer, right? And I would come back during the fall,
right?
Because it's the off season. Man, I remember that year, man. It had to be like the 2000 and your 3s, your 4. That's when I noticed. I said, "What in the world is this?"
Oh yeah.
So tell me about that time, Coach.
Well, that time was, I get goosebumps when I think about that time. Just because, like, it was like when everything fell into place. Like, we grinded in the 90s. Like, we were on the verge with some really good teams.
Right.
In baseball and football. Like, we were grinding. We had J.R. Revere and Marcus Blandenberg and Stephen Madrid and DeMario Shank and Bruce Thorntons and Dexter Murphys. And then in baseball, I had Darnell Stinsons and who's like the best that I've ever coached. And we were like playing in the Final Fours, and we were playing highest classification again.
Yeah.
I don't talk about it like outside this room a lot because it sounds like, hey, it's an excuse because we were winning, so there really is no excuse. But those kids were competing against Parkview and Lassiter and those people.
One side with the cab too, right?
Oh yeah.
I remember Quincy
Carter. Oh yeah. Quincy Carter probably got signed off playing against us. But anyway, Quincy Carter was quarterback in my first game as defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the press box. Oh, at first their band comes in, and they start playing. You can't hear. You can't hear. They take over the stadium. It was awesome.
Man, I'm going to tell you, Coach, I remember this.
Oh, these guys, they had Quincy Carter. They scored 19 points in the first quarter. And I mean, like we had plays played, but Quincy Carter is so underrated in high school, you know, because it didn't come out so great. Like he's an NFL guy, but he has some issues.
Yeah.
But Quincy Carter, they scored 19. I remember I got on the headset and I said, well, 19 times 4. I said, if he stays at this rate, they're going to score 76.
Right.
But anyway, we ended up shutting them down, and they beat us like maybe like 30-20 or something. I can't remember what it was. We ended up competing. But that was my breaking in as defensive coordinator.
But Coach, look, I'm telling you, man. Man, someone had mentioned that. I don't know if it's true or not. That Quincy Carter, you know, he was an option guy, did option well. It said he would fake a option. He was as if he finna throw it, but he would spin it on his palm. Is that true?
I can't confirm that one. I wouldn't doubt it.
Right.
I seen him roll to the right.
Yeah.
Like run around, roll to the right, and throw one like from a hash back across.
Oh man.
Like a ball that you shouldn't have to cover a guy that deep.
Right.
Like you should sit it down because a guy can't throw it.
Yeah.
And he threw it over our head.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you one little quick story.
Yeah,
Coach, we had my defensive lineman. I'm not going to name his name.
We ain't dropping names, Coach.
I can't drop his name
because
I don't want him. I don't want to embarrass him. But
yeah.
Anyway, he was late to practice the day before the Southwest DeKalb game. We're playing up there, right? So he's late. I mean, just a few minutes, but he's late. Coach Pardue walks by me and goes, "Hey, he ain't starting tomorrow." I'm like, "You sure? You know, we can't come up with something.
Right. You can't
we don't have something else because I knew that, you know, it's Quincy Carter, right? Look, they had like 20-something guys signed that year.
Oh, man.
Like, Quincy Carter was just part of it. They had like Alabama, Georgia. It was like all over. He was just one of them. So they get my defensive end. I said, Steve, I said, what's going to happen is they're going to ride that option in there, and they're going to pull it. And so, the guy I'm putting in, he's going to jump that dive, and Quincy Carter's going to be, bam, gone. He said, he ain't starting. I said, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
He's the boss. Right. And he's smarter than me. Man, it's about the third play. It was like, boom, option. I mean, we preached it. My backup, you got quarterback. What does he do? Dive. Quincy Carter, bam, he hits it. About 60 yards. I think it was Blandenberg or somebody.
Okay.
Actually hawked him down.
Oh, snap. Okay.
You know, I don't know if they hawked him down. They angled him.
Yeah.
But they got him down.
But they got him.
Coach Pardue walked by and said, get him in. He said, get him in.
Enough is enough.
He made his point.
Yeah.
I made my point.
Yeah.
I knew what was going to happen.
Get him in now.
Yeah,
Get him in now. Man, that's funny, though. So, Coach, man, the first time you won that championship, man, give me that feeling.
Oh, well, the first one was 1991. Mm-hmm. That was a national championship. Yeah. So, which was really cool. It was unreal. The bad thing was you kind of had mixed emotions because we had beat the monster, Valdosta.
Okay.
Earlier. So when we beat them in like maybe the quarterfinals, biggest crowd I've ever seen at a Granger game. We beat them 6-0. And from that point, we never played well again. The next week, we had to go overtime to beat McEachern. And Rodney Hudson just absolutely willed us to win.
Yeah.
Rodney was just...
He was different.
If Rodney Hudson played in today's game with the spread offense, he would be the number one recruit in America.
Wow.
I mean, he could do it all. But his talents weren't utilized in the scheme back then. It would be drop back, run around, make a play. Nowadays, there's stuff designed for him,
Yep.
and they do that. But Rodney was, just phenomenal in every aspect. But Rodney just made us win that game against McEachern. So we go down to Colquitt. We literally did not play well. and we messed around, and we played okay, but we got behind, and Rodney took us 80 yards in about 3 minutes, and walked us down the field, completed a 4th and 15 that no human should have completed. We got a first down, got it in field goal range. Scott Simons banged out a field goal, and we win. So we're going crazy, but it was like I was like still kind of ticked because we didn't play well. Like in 01, we did the same thing against Cedartown. We played a horrible first half. In fact, I chewed our guys out pretty good, which normally I don't have to. Second half, we shut them out. Came back and won, so we didn't play great. 03, we played great. Mm-hmm. We beat Peach County, and they were probably 2 touchdowns better than us. Mm-hmm. Literally, they were better football team talent-wise, and we just our scheme worked great. The kids played great. Everything we needed to do, we did. Right. That one was like really satisfying.
Right.
And then 04, we just mauled everybody.
Oh my God. Like I said, now the older years that I remember, I like, boy.
04, like when we won, I said, whew.
Yeah. Like,
because I thought we got to screw this up. All we needed to do was score 10 points. I used to tell Coach Pardue, I said, if you'll score 10, they may score 1 on us, but they won't score more than 1. Wow. And we gave up 5, 6, 7 points a game at the most. And we got up 17-0 in the state championship game. I mean, it was over. They scored 1 late, but we physically mauled just about every opponent.
So come let me ask you this, man. I always wanted this. Who idea was it to start doing that little the high kick or that pooch kick y'all do on kickoff? Y'all
back then?
Man, I remember Trey used to knock people.
Oh, yeah. That was, first we really didn't have end zone kickers. And that would really be our defensive staff. We did it. And what we would do is we figured out that we had some kickers for a 2 or 3 year span. Ben Higgins, Tony Palmer, some of those kids that we could do a good job of. We would really look at how you lined up. Who's a weak link, how much separation there is, and where our guys were, and we schemed it. We did a kick against Carrollton where they had 5 in the front, and then they went 2, 2, 2 like that on the hashes.
Okay.
So we kicked it like a golf shot and dropped it in the middle, and it hit the ground, and we recovered it because we saw they had a hole. Then we had one, they had a big old lineman who was 275 on the front wall. And we practiced all week with a guy holding a shield. And we said, can you hit him with the ball? And I think it was Ben or Tony Palmer, one of them. And we said, can you? So all week up on the upper practice field, our kicker would kick at a guy holding a shield. And I said, if you miss him, with a line drive. If you miss him, it's just a squib kick. We'll go cover it. But if you hit him, this ball is going to ricochet somewhere. It's going to be chaos. And we did that kick against Carrollton, and it worked. We did the bloop kick, and it worked. We did the sky kick, and somebody almost killed somebody at Carrollton. I don't know if it was Trey.
Man, I'm going to tell you, I remember one night. It was a home game, I remember.
Okay. Yeah, well, if this was at Carrollton. They had to stop the game for 10 minutes to come get this guy. But it was a scheme, and I would say the credit goes to first the kickers and the players, but we schemed it. Our defensive staff was in charge of. We didn't have a special teams coach. I wish that coaches didn't do that.
Right.
Because, I like the ownership of the staff on it.
I like that.
Because it makes me we got the kickoff team, and I would be in charge of these certain guys on the kickoff team. And Crocker had these guys, and Bozeman had these guys, and Pickett had on the punt return, punt block. We had guys. We coached it like it was our defense. And sometimes we're in special teams. If you got a special teams coach, what you do naturally as a coach, you kind of sit there and wait for your next period, or you over there sucking in some water, thinking he's in charge. No, to me, I like when everybody's really.
I like that.
But, so we didn't have a special teams coach. And that, to me, it made it more important. Like, and it made ownership. But that's not the way. It's times have changed. Everybody thinks you got a name. And I get it. But
right. So, Coach, man, you, and I was talking about this the other day, man, you coached for a while, man, a series of darn good linebackers.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Talk to me about, you know what I'm saying, your Sam Malabutu, your Travis, your Trey, because them boys was high level.
Yeah, well, first, a lot of credit goes, I'm going to get the first credit, because I coached the D-line, but I was the coordinator, so I had them all. But Thomas Crocker's incredible. He was the lifeline of those linebackers.
Okay.
I mean, he is a brilliant linebacker coach, especially within our scheme. Like, he knows that scheme. Like, he is a very good defensive line coach now for LaGrange High. He is a exceptional linebacker coach. Okay. That's his gift.
Is it that? Yeah.
But he can coach corners. Like, he's a coach.
Right.
But, oh, man, the linebackers, everything we did was based on what they could do. And, Sam Alajibutu is one of the smartest human beings you'll ever be around. Man, he's a smart kid. So he allowed us to coach at such a high level. His intelligence. But then he was a smart football player, and he was a leader. And he is the best tackler I've ever been around.
Oh, my God.
I think some of it had to do with his wrestling, because he could get his body in and get out of position and still, like, do things like a wrestler, even when he gets faked. And he covered up so much junk for some of my linemen. Yeah. If we screwed up, you'd be like, there's a hole, and then boom. He makes a play.
So let me tell you, man. So, when he was getting ready to go to Tampa, he had a trial with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Man, so I trained him. Yeah. What am I about to say, man? So I trained him. He would have made it, man. Man, I remember training him leading up to Tampa. And this one thing I noticed, his control. When I do different drills with him, his control was super good, man. That's what I definitely noticed about him.
That doesn't surprise me. Yep. He wasn't tremendously just athletic. It was somehow he was just fluid in what he could control in his body.
I agree with
he
that.
wasn't that fast. I remember Houston Nutt signed him at Arkansas. And it's when they saw him practice, they kind of get it. When you see him, you're like, he's too short. He's not fast enough. All those little measurables, but Arkansas couldn't get the guy that was 6'2", 240, so they took the chance. And then, if you ask Houston Nutt right now, who's on CBS Sports Network as a broadcaster now, probably who one of his top 3 linebackers ever coached is, he's going to say Sam Alajibutu.
He's definitely going to name him, yeah.
But Sam was pure linebacker. I haven't seen anybody better at LaGrange High. Right. Pure linebacker.
Yep.
Travis Hart, cut in the same mold. Just an absolute warrior, great leader, and just really grew up. As he, as a person, grew up. And man, me and him were in sync, probably never more in sync with any linebacker than me and Travis, still to this day. Right. We're still tight. But just good. Very underrated because you had Trey. Trey was the splash guy.
Yep.
We designed a lot of what we did to cut Trey loose. Where can we get mismatches with Trey? Where can we bring him? Where can we look like we're bringing him? So Travis would be the guy who got us lined up. We did a lot of checking, and that's the beauty of those linebackers. If you came out in this, through our preparation, we checked almost a lot of defenses to stop what you do best.
Right.
So what we called may not happen. A lot of it was on the run, and it required a smart linebacker and a lot of coaching of those other guys to get them to understand it. Those guys did a great job. But Travis was just a rock solid. And like I say, everybody talks about Trey. which they should. But they were the perfect partnership because
played off each other. I like
because you had Travis was the rock in the middle, and Trey, we could do different things. I mean, we did stuff like we were doing like nickel and dime stuff when people weren't doing it. Like we played Peach, Trey played half the game at the end, and we put Trey and Braxton on the ends because they had a 320-pound left tackle that I said he'll never touch Trey. Well, he made that kid cry during the game. The coach from Peach told me later, the left tackle from Peach was crying on the sideline because how bad he was getting abused.
Trey had that motor though, man.
Yeah, but we had Trey ran under him. He ran the hoop. He hit him right in the gut and dumped him on him. He went up and under on him. And at the same time, you got Braxton Kelly coming.
He doing his thing.
You got them guys in the middle coming. And but we did like nickel and whatever. We were doing that stuff, but we could do all of that because like you had Travis was there. He could make a play, something get loose, bam, there he is.
Yep.
So those guys really were a great combination. Trey Blackman is the most explosive human being I've ever seen in my life.
I second that one.
The worst thing that probably could ever happen to you is get hit by him running full speed. He used to hit people and never go to the ground, like just run through them. Wow. The sound of what? He's like the toughest, hardest hitting, explosive football player I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I second that, man.
And he was coachable.
And you're a great kid, man.
There, like he wasn't. To more as a linebacker. So I remember I talked to Will Muschamp one time over at Auburn. I went and watched him practice, and I was like, I wasn't trying to tell Will Muschamp how to do it, but I did say, man, look, he's best if you kind of get him going a little bit because they were playing him at Mike, and he was little now. Trey was not a big guy. So they did do some stuff where they brought him because he won the Auburn game against Tebow.
Yeah.
I was at that game. He caused a fumble against Tebow on a little blitz. So they figured out what he could do well, but he was not just a natural linebacker.
Yeah.
He was an explosive. He's really almost a safety hybrid kind of kid. He was kind of the wrong size for each. So that, that probably kind of hurt him like being kind of a NFL kind of guy.
Right.
Wasn't quite good enough hips to be a safety. He's like a safety down in the box is kind of what he is.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So
I got to get one more in there.
Go ahead.
Quay Huzzy.
Yes, man.
That's
I ain't gonna lie, man. LG was like deep with him.
Quay Huzzy was another one. He's kind of a cross between a lot of those guys. Man, what a great kid. Coaches for LaGrange High now. He looks like a big old guard now, but he hugs me.
Tell him get back in the dungeon, Coach. Tell him get back in the dungeon.
Yeah, so do I, though. I look like one, too. But Quay, just a great kid.
Yeah.
I mean, now he's like a great mentor.
Oh, man, he definitely is, man.
And I'm going to leave somebody out, so I apologize. But Quay Huzzy just hit me. Like, to me, and I know there's been some guys after those guys.
Right.
But, I mean, there ain't been guys that hit just the physicality. And they were doing our stuff. They do a lot of our stuff now as well. But Quay, what a resource that they have up there. That guy, when he talks to a linebacker, he did it. He ran that stunt. He did it. He did it in the state semifinals, that guy was, he, like I say, smart guy, had a great college career as well. And I'm probably left somebody off. But those linebackers it was kind of linebacker you.
Yeah.
I hope we get back there because those guys are the lifeline. We could survive with a kind of an okay defensive line with great linebacker play back then. Now, like, we had some years where we had both. Like 04, we had a great defensive front with great linebackers with a really good secondary.
Oh, my God.
03, the same thing. 01 and 9, those state championship years, we had kind of the full package. And, you know, there were some other years too, but those years were like, I mean, I think it was like Tristan Johnson and that group. We went to the semifinals. We lost to Flowery Branch. I'm trying to think of the guy. He quarterbacked at South Carolina, was the quarterback at Flowery Branch. They beat us. That's the last really good team we had at LaGrange.
Put that work hat back.
First, you know where I was when I retired. I retired. First, it needs to be said that I did the head football coach a few years, and I was doing both jobs for a couple of years.
Right.
And it wasn't something like, hey, I want to give up baseball. It was kind of something like I was kind of, I don't want to say pushed out because I wasn't, but it was like, hey, it would probably be better if you devoted, this football needs full-time coach. Mm-hmm. And they were right. And I had a coach in place that it was his time. So, but it needs to be said, I didn't give up baseball initially.
Right.
I reluctantly said, I'm going to give it up because that's what the program needs.
Okay.
The football program needed it.
Right.
So anyway, when I got out, Todd Harrington took the baseball job. He had it a few years, and then he moved on, and then, I actually helped get David Smart hired, who's a great friend, outstanding coach, and he came in, and I had absolutely no intention of coaching high school baseball. In fact, I was helping David train some of his players, his pitchers. I was working with some troop kids and Callaway kids, whatever, but David was really sending them to me. So I was doing that. So I still had my hand in, it keeps your hand in the game.
Right.
It's like when you go watch a kid that you train, it keeps you like kind of
tagged in that thing.
You're tagged into his success or feel his pain.
That's it.
So I was there and I followed him, and David had a really good second year and they went to Final Four. And then that third year, he graduated a bunch and they weren't very good that next year. And he kind of took a job early in the game that year. And it was kind of a bad deal where he had to take a job. It was a new school up in Atlanta, and they wanted to hire their coach. It was a great opportunity for him. A lot more money, more money for his wife. So he ends up taking that job, and he took it early, and the season wasn't over.
Right.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be leaked, but up there, they kind of leaked it out because they wanted folks to kind of know that we got a coach. Well, that was bad, really bad for David. I mean, it was an awful situation for him because they kind of didn't do what they said they were going to do. But then now you got a lame duck coach. You got the parents know that the coach ain't going to be there next year. The team is not real good. They're really young. So now, and I'm hanging around. I'm over there at the field going to the games. And somebody kind of says, Coach, you ought to come back. And I didn't really kind of say anything. And then I actually said something to my wife. I said, I'm thinking about, I may want to come back. I said, they may not want me because I don't know if they going to like how I do stuff. It's a new people over there. So I told David Smart. I said, David, look, I know you're leaving, but if they ask you, they probably think I got no interest. But if they're looking, I'm not going up there asking for no job.
Right.
No offense, I'm not asking for that job.
Right.
I said, but if somebody does ask, just see what they say. Well, I guess he did, and they called me up to Paulie and Mr. White.
Okay.
Said, let's go to lunch.
Yeah.
So we went to lunch, and they said, their first question with me, are you gonna? We don't want no quick hit. Are you gonna? Like they were scared, because I'm older and I don't. I'm gonna come in there and do a year or two and get out.
Yeah.
And I said, look, one hit guy. I said, I'm a grind guy.
Yeah.
I said, you can't even feel me being here for a couple of years. Like I'm a ground up guy.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm gonna go as long as I can go. That I'm healthy, Lord willing. My wife, all the things are in place. I'm gonna go. I said, because hey, I want to leave. I want to get the program where it's really good every year again. And it wasn't like David hadn't done a good job. He did a great job. Now they weren't good the year I got the thing. I'll tell you that. But I mean, David and Todd, they're good coaches. But like I say, I'm a grinder on, because you've seen.
Heck yeah.
You were one of the first people I called when I got the job because you were part of the build. Right. So they asked me, and I said, now my question for you is, are you going to let me do it?
Yeah.
Like I do it.
Right.
You're asking me how long I'm going to do it. Or are you going to let me because I do it different? We're going to do 6 a.m. workouts. And I don't care if the parents like it or not. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to answer emails and text messages about playing time.
Right.
If that's part of the job, you need to get right. A young guy that wants to talk to them. Yeah. I said, I'm going to love their kid. I'm going to meet with their kid about everything. I'm going to be in their life. The relationship's going to be between me and the player, and they're going to have to trust me. I'm going to kill for that kid. I'm going to try to get them in school. I'm going to love them. I'm going to coach them hard. But don't text me about why ain't your son playing?
Right.
And which it sounds good, and I love the parents. I got the best parents in the world. And I ain't got one text since I've been back about why and Billy. And they think it, I'm sure.
Right.
But they sit up there on the hill and they can talk about it. That's fine. Yeah. And that's fine. I get it. That's their pride and joy.
Yeah, most definitely.
But the deal is I want to be about the player. But the deal is players, I want to be player driven, player relationship. I want our players I set the standard and the players make it happen. And our parents are there to support and buy in, and they do their part. And that's why I'm blessed. I'm telling you, I've gotten not one text or call asking me about why their son hasn't played. Wow. You want to have success, and that's hard because that's their babies.
Yes.
And I get it. But now look.
Got your mama bears out there.
I communicate with the kids. They know where they stand. The kids evaluate themselves. We do a sheet, and they rank each other, and we talk about it. They know. Like, I just don't leave it out there. If I'm going to bench you today, I talk to them about it. I'm like, hey, you're doing great. I love what you're doing, but I'm going to give Billy Bob going to get a chance to play. And so he knows, he's like, I got it, coaches, I told one of my players last year, this kid was leading us in hitting. Trey Cook, at this time, was leading our team in batting average. And I just had a feeling, like I do crazy stuff. Okay. So like they got good reason sometimes to wonder, what in the crap is he doing? But I said, Trey, I'm not going to DH you today. I just got a good feeling about old so-and-so.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay either way. Just stay ready. But you're doing great. And he's, yes, sir. Bam, I bring in the other kid. I get a feel for like kids, and like I got a feel. Let's play this guy. I always tell the parents I don't play the best 9. I play the best 9 or 10 if you have a DH. I play the ones that I think need to be there then and now that day.
I like that.
Like it's hard to say. Like who knows really who the best 9 is? So like we usually have like 12. you have 12 or 13 and like I get a feel for maybe like a matchup or, you know, like this little deal. It's like Caden Wood last year. You know, I had a feel like this Caden Wood's got a little something about him.
Yeah.
He's a little freshman, but I think he's got something to him. So I started molding him to pitch in big games late in the year. I started putting him in games early in the year to get him ready. Well, he won 3 straight game 3s. Like, you know, so it's a feel, you know, like, and that's kind of the way I do it. And like I say, I know, like, I get it. Like, I would sit there sometime and go, what in the heck is he doing?
Right.
The kids get it. Like, and that's who matters. But I just think that your work and your relationship, I believe in, and I wasn't always this way, but I know you're exactly this way too now. Man, I'm going to coach. The things that gets me on the bad side, effort, lack of effort, that will get you in trouble.
Come on, man.
You know, like energy, effort, that stuff, that body language, you got a problem with me on that stuff. Yeah. Like how you do your business. You come watch us play. If you can tell whether we're winning or losing by looking, I don't like that. Like we play. Our saying is the standard is the standard. That's the Mike Tomlin quote that we have stolen.
Standard is standard. Okay.
The standard is the standard. It doesn't move. It's your job to meet it.
Wow.
So that's our motto, and that's a Mike Tomlin who is a coaching hero for me.
Yeah.
So that's our deal. But our guys, if you boot a ball, like if we boot a ball, I expect you to be the fastest guy in America getting to it and trying to make a play. We have no time for you to drop your shoulders, pout, stick your lip out,
right? All
that junk. And so that, like I used to, you know, as a younger coach, man, I rip them when they make errors. It doesn't do any good. The kid cares. He's already ripped himself.
Yeah.
We need to coach. We do 90% of our technique coaching from now till January. When we get in the season, we do a lot of polish the technique, and then we want to empower the boys to go play, have fun.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
yes, sir.
Why do you need a steal signal? You can run, steal, take it. You don't need me to tell you. So that's the way we play. Seth Stargell gets on base, he better be looking to run.
Yeah.
Look, if you come watch us play this spring, if you watch us play, I'm sitting there. The only time I might tell them to stop, I won't go. Like, I won't go. I want you to play. I want you. It's about
I like
you.
That, Coach. I like that.
So like, and it's hard, like, because coaches want to control. Well, look, I'm going to control you from now till January and give you the plan, and then I want you to play. You know, when I walk out to the mound, usually the first thing I say is, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? Like, if I talk to my pitcher, like, it's a big spot. What do you like? Like, I want them to have to tell me, you know, like, I'm calling the game, but, hey, if you don't like it, shake it. Now, they usually don't shake me because they got a whole lot of trust in me.
Okay.
But when I walk to the mound, I'll say, hey, Trevor, Trey, Caden. I'll go, hey, what do you like? And they'll say, I like a slider. And I go, let's go with it. You know, like, that's the big.
I like the empowerment, though, Coach.
That's the biggest thing.
I'm big on that. Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that, and I'm telling you, as a younger coaches, everybody wants to be in charge, and I'm the boss of everything. Right. I am the boss of it. But I'm the boss of it means I know what everybody's doing. Like my hitting coach, I know exactly what he's doing, but I'm letting him do it and figure it out. And then I want my hitters, like, teach my pitchers, and pitching's my thing. That's my passion. So if I'm working with a pitcher, and I need to get back doing some pitching lessons. That's another story.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I'm working with a pitcher, I don't want to teach you how just to pitch. I want you to teach you to fix you. I want you to be able, because I can only go out there X amount of times during a game. So if you throw 80 pitches today and you throw 2 or 3, I go out there a time or two, I can't go anymore. So what are you going to do? Have I got to take you out? Or can you, because we've done it over and over and over, that me and you have a language where I look at you and I go, I do some kind of sign, and it's like we did medicine ball drills this morning, and we did pitching drills, and I can look at Caden Wood, he's a sophomore pitcher, and I can do something with my body, just kind of do it, and immediately he knows exactly what me and him are speaking. It's like I tell him, it's like there's English and French and Spanish. There's LaGrange high pitching. Me and you were speaking.
I got it.
And I said, and I can do it with a 9-year-old. Like you get a 9-year-old, and I look at a 9-year-old, and I do a little something with my hand, and he's like, he immediately knows I need to do this. And then they learn it. Then they feel it. The dudes on TV, they know they learn.
They know their bodies.
They know their bodies.
That's it.
And I, as a younger coach, I had to learn that. I wanted to be like the dictator. And I am still, and some of them guys are going to laugh if they watch the show and go, wait a minute now. Because I am a dictator about you better not use profanity in front of me.
Right.
You better have your uniform in and your hat on frontward.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But when it comes to playing, they will all tell you, I'm going to let them play. I'm going to, like Trevor Booten, like I want him when he goes to Auburn to know and feel like how he pitches and have an opinion about, I don't want him to be a robot. I want him to have a feel for it, you know. And even like my defensive lineman, when I coach like Braxton Kelly, I'm like, I'm going to tell them what to do, but I'm going to give them a little, I mean, are you better doing it this way? Or, you know, like when you get it, when players think that they're getting a part of it, they'll run through a brick wall. When they think they got to do it, it's a little different.
I like
and when at the point when you're coaching and you figure that out, life gets a lot better.
Yeah.
It really does. I'm telling you, my years out helped because I watched a lot. And I learned later in my career a lot of stuff. And I learn every year. I'm a continual learner.
I like that.
I met with Auburn. I went to Auburn, sat down with their coaching staff and taught long toss program and taught some stuff with them. Like we're continual learners. So I'm old, but I'm still trying to grow.
Still learning.
But like player empowerment is like and I'm not talking about like coach needs to run the program.
Right.
You know, but letting players be involved in what they're doing and how to do it is a good thing.
I love every bit of that.
And look, I'm telling you, coach them really hard before it all starts. If you go to a game and the coach is a baseball game and they're jumping up and down and everybody's screaming, they've done a crappy job of coaching before they got to that game. That's what I got to say. If you watch Atlanta Braves play, Brian Snitker over there ain't acting a fool.
He ain't going crazy over there.
You know why? Because them guys know how to play. You teach them how to play.
Yes, sir.
And then you help guide them along the way. And then, you know, they have fun when they do it.
Right.
And then when the players hold each other accountable, that's the part we're on now. Is like, I had COVID a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Well, we had morning workouts. So I sat there and I said, well, I got 4 kids coming in, 2 groups of 4, because you can only work with 4. Why can't they do it? Why they need me?
Right.
So I had other coaches that were there with other groups. So I didn't like let them give them a key. You know, because I don't need to get fired, right? They probably want to fire me, but they don't need to.
Right.
But anyway, so I knew they had coaches in. Well, they did it. They did like med ball drills.
See, man, that's major.
They did it. You know, I texted them like a day later and said, "Hey, how'd it go?" I said, "It went great." You know, like they didn't. That's when you get.
But it's the empowerment you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's the empowerment you're talking about.
So why do I need you? I mean, like that's what you want. I told my infield coach last year, Craig Mobley. I said, man. Like he moved away doing something else. He was actually getting a bag of dirt to fill in a hole or something, and they were starting drills over there. His group was starting something, and they weren't doing good. And I'm like, I told him, of course, he didn't know because he had a job that he was in charge of the field. And I said, look, you need to get with them.
Right.
Or I'm going to get with them on, they don't need you here right now. Like, they know this routine. A coach ought to, like, there's certain drill and warm-ups that in your gym,
right,
that if I got to walk in here, because we dealt with it when we had LaGrange High baseball in here, there's certain stuff. Now, why do I have to tell you to do this? All right, so that's when you got leadership is like, I don't have to tell Trevor Booten and whatever how to do, and Trey Cook and Robbie Parker how to do my stuff. Like, why do they need me? When you got infielders and they can run the infield drills, and you got outfielders and they can run it, that's when you have a program.
That's when you have it.
So, and that's where we're at right now. We got guys that they're empowered. So it's pretty exciting.
I definitely like that. So Coach, man, last year, you guys had a crazy run last year.
Oh, yeah.
Now, give me some of that, Coach. Give me some of that run from last year.
Well, that was, I never go in, fans and players and parents, and you talk about like state championship. I've been blessed. I've gotten to be a part of 5 state championships. Dang. And they are so hard. I even wore one. That's my favorite.
Yeah, it is, baby.
That's the baseball one. I just know that one was probably, they'd never done it before in the school history.
Okay.
But and they're so hard. So that wasn't even in our thought process. People always talk about the, doing what you do over and over, like the process and all that. Everybody's really a cliche, but it's not. And so we knew we had young talent coming. Okay. A really, really good young talent, but we knew we had a pretty good core of pitching coming back with Trevor. See, and the trump card was Trey Cook.
Okay.
Because Trey did not pitch the entire year before because of injury to his growth plate. Well, I knew pitching again's my thing.
Okay.
I'm like, I told my coaches, I said, y'all going to be shocked now. That little guy can pitch. You wait and see. You don't know what we missed the year before. Wait till we get him and Trevor. And I said, and this Caden Wood, his daddy pitched for me, so I know what he's made of.
Right.
I know what kind of competitor and what kind of kid he is, because I know Lee, his daddy, was a really good player. So I got around. Caden won that 3rd pitching job in September, October, November last year, watching him work. I said, that's going to be my guy. Again, I get a feel. He hadn't I'm a people. Yeah. I can kind of. I screw it up, but I'll hit 9 and I'll blow a big one every now and then.
Right.
So, but anyway, if you got pitching, and then you got a good core young, and we had a good base of old as well. Esposito, like, just made a big jump. Like, just as a kid, like he upped his maturity level. Like. To me, it was like he'd always kind of resisted, not on purpose, but he had been so successful as a young kid that he didn't quite make the adjustment to some mechanic things.
As an older kid.
And then all of a sudden, he did it. And then all of a sudden, he looked like that same little 12-year-old that used to be a stud.
Yeah.
He stood up there with that confidence.
Yeah.
So many kids are 12, and something has to change when you get older. And they think, well, I was really good at 12. I was hitting bombs. Well, really, you were hitting a pop-up, and that fence was short. You know what I mean?
I'm with that.
So, in his body, he was a bigger kid, and now he's not that big. But anyway, Colton was phenomenal. Zach Thompson, I mean, you go a lifetime and never meet Zach Thompson. Right. I mean, I wish I could take any credit for Zach Thompson, the kind of person he is. It all goes to mom and dad church and Jesus and everything else. But we knew we had a phenomenal catcher, leader. And, Turner Cook was a guy we needed to hit who was a senior. We needed him to have a big year. He started out slow. I even sat him on the bench a couple games, made his mama mad at me.
Oh, man.
She didn't tell me, but somebody else did. I said, if I don't make a mama mad every now and then, I'm not doing a good job.
Right.
But anyway, my wife might have got mad when my son played, you know. But anyway, Turner was big time. And we had Austin Skiff, Ben Officer. We had 5 seniors who I really liked. Forget about playing. I liked them. Mm-hmm. You know, there's something to be said for like what's kind of you got the makeup. It's more important than just who plays what.
Right.
It's a puzzle of like it's like chemistry. Mm-hmm. You know that because you coach.
Yeah, heck yeah.
People think, well, who are you going to replace? I'm like, I'm not just replacing Zach Thompson. I'm replacing the human being.
Right.
Forget I can find a hitter and whatever. Like, what about that guy in my locker room? What about?
Yeah.
People
That's the tough part. Yeah.
It isn't how many you lose; it's who you lose. Mm-hmm. And so I'm replacing Colton Esposito and that senior, that swagger he had to him. You know, well, we had a group of seniors and a group of young kids that were willing to follow. So they followed. Because sometimes young kids don't want to follow. They think they got the answers.
Yes, sir.
So we ended up playing 2 to 5. We had 11 freshmen on the varsity, which I've never had more than probably 5. We had 11. 5 of them started at some point during the year. Wow. So we started anywhere from 2 to 5. So we had in the mix, it just molded. I mean, it was just, so I just kept saying, hey, keep playing. We're going to get good. We played a brutal schedule, which we always do. And, you know, we were winning, but our pitching was always good. When your pitching's good, it covers up other things.
Other stuff, yeah.
And we also got Robbie Parker transferred in. That was like a godsend. He came from, this dude just shows up from Campbell Smyrna. I'm in the indoor hitting facility. I mean, in the indoor facility, turf field. I'm working with Trey Cook like in November on a Sunday afternoon because Trey was coming off arm. It's me and Trey Cook in there working, doing work nobody knows about. And Robbie Parker's dad walks in that building, and somebody sees him and says, hey, that's the baseball coach. And he asked to talk to me when I'm done. And I sit down and he goes, hey, we're thinking we're moving to LaGrange. Bam. So that kid shows up. Wow. And, I mean, he's a starting second baseman. He hit. He's one of our best pitchers. He's a great kid. He's a great student. And then, you know, Preston Presley was already there. Preston was a rock. Preston's probably one of the most resilient kids I've ever been around because, and he'll tell you this if you ask him, he probably ain't going to share it, but we had some talks during the year. He struggled defensively. I mean, he was hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
I just got a lot of belief in him.
Yes, sir.
And look, I mean, we got guys right now. I probably got 5 for 3 or 4 spots. There's no gimmies out there for anybody any day, which I love. They got to work every day. But Preston is a guy, you ask about this team, he exemplified because he could make an error in a big spot, make the next play in a big spot, never drop his head, come in, knock in 2 runs, put us ahead, bam, and never blink.
I see that.
And, you know, because sometimes when you're a fan or a parent, you go and you watch it, and it's not just Preston, but maybe it's Colton Esposito, and they're like, holy cow, you know, he's made 2 errors and whatever. They got no idea what that guy's about. They got no idea. First of all, just because your kid could feel it when he was 13 over at George Harris with 12 people in the stands doesn't mean he can feel it over at Granger Park with it rocking and all the chips on the line. Right. It's a different animal.
Man.
There is no preparation for it. It's a different deal. But what I measure is when you flop, when you hit that low. If I see you falter, you got to go. If I see you come right in, never drop that head, and
you can ride with that person,
and that we can win with you.
Yeah.
And at some point, I may have to work. You know, we were almost at that point a couple times, But like I just saw like Preston in some big moments, like really produce, and I just got a lot of faith in him. I got a lot of faith in a lot of other guys, but and I got faith in some of these young guys that are right there on the fringe. We're gonna play a lot of kids. Some of them probably won't like it that much, but like I think the more kids you, like I said, empower and involve and give a role. It doesn't say like LaGrange High branches. It's the Grangers.
Right.
You're one of them. It ain't about me. It ain't about them. It ain't about, the parent comes in. They have a little bit of a certain agenda.
Yeah.
No offense. My agenda is the program and the team. So, man, if I can find a kid and he can do anything to help us, man, I'm going to try to do it. Like if I can find a kid, if he can give me one good inning, if that's his role, if I can find one inning, something he can do. And that's what we had, a bunch of guys that we didn't hardly have a bad day. Like usually during the season, like one day I'll snap. I have a day like they just ain't got that juice. I think we might have had one day where I said, like, I'm not a threatening guy. I may go, hey, need to pick it up. I might just raise my voice.
Right.
And then it doesn't pick up. I go on the line.
You didn't know what's
and
up.
And then we handle that, and I'll say, look, would you rather use your time doing this, or you want to practice like we practice? And then that handles it. I think we might have had one of those days. Some years there's been a couple. Sometimes there's been none. I've had them come from a game, hop off the bus and do it. Dang. Back in the day.
Right.
Some of those old timers will tell you we just cut the lights on. I call ahead and say, when we get off the bus, have the lights on. Because I'll do what my deal is. If you're giving great effort and you care and you're playing with energy, I'll live with some mistakes. If you come out to the field and I'm not seeing that juice, I got a problem. We had a 4-on-1 session the other day, and I was watching my infield coach, Jamie Smith. He's really good. And when it was over, I said, how'd it go? He goes, it wasn't good. And I could tell by his body language when I came up. He said, it wasn't good. And I said, what's wrong? He said, I knew it wasn't good because I could tell your body. He said, they just didn't have any. I said, okay. I said, I made a note right there. I'm going to get those guys, and I'm going to have a conversation with them about why are we going to come out here on an afternoon and have 30 minutes of detailed work and you not bring it. You just wasted a day.
You wasted time.
Why wouldn't you come out here and this morning, our pitchers, we didn't have an off day. They looked like they were sitting in a sauna when they got done.
They're going to work.
They went to work. They worked when I wasn't there, So that's the mentality, is like in between those lines, you got to go.
You got to go.
And then you reap the reward down the road.
So Coach, what I'm saying, from last year, man, you got the Coach of the Year, man. Man, how was that? How was that phone call? How was that email?
Yeah, it was an email. Yeah, it was awesome. I was really more happy about Zach.
Zach, yeah.
And I say that to be honest, because I've won the Coach of the Year a few times, and I'm not telling you that to brag.
No, I'm with you.
But I'm kind of past that part of it. Me winning Coach of the Year award. I mean, my wife loves it because she's like my biggest fan.
Yeah.
My daughter, my son, he doesn't care, but. Probably,
right.
But my daughter, my wife, my mom, all that. But for me, if me winning Coach of the Year means, man, we did something right. My coaches were great. Drew Eady, let me say that. I hadn't said their names. Drew Eady, Harrison Kurtz, Craig Mobley, who I'm sad that I lost him. He's going to softball full time.
Oh, man.
But I've got Jamie Smith replacing him. I got Jonathan Burns, Jamie Bozeman. I lost him because he's the boss man at LaGrange.
Yeah.
Clancy Offers doing a phenomenal job, and John Hardy. My staff, me being Coach of the Year means they were Coach of the Year.
Right.
And it means we had good players doing good things, and things went well. It's just I happen to have the name at the top of the letterhead. So that's a good thing. But it wasn't like, man, I was great. It was just things fell into place. We got a good plan. And let me say this before I change the subject. I mean, before I finish that, I'm not sure we wouldn't have done the same thing 2 years ago, COVID year. I want to mention that 2020 team.
Yeah.
Because we didn't ever stop and say anything. Charles Crawford and that group of kids, we were like 10-3, ranked 5th in the state, and we were about to shock people. This last year was gonna happen 2 years ago. I really believed it. I'm not saying we were gonna win it. I'm talking about that run.
Yeah.
And that was a special group of 12 seniors. They had done the work. You were part of them doing the work. And I can't name them all right now, but that group, that was that 2020 year. Mason Green, Waltland there.
Man, I remember them guys. I remember them guys.
But anyway, Will Flowers, you know, like I say, I'm leaving people out. But so it was coming. And then we lost all of those guys, and we had to almost restart that next year. That was the Matthew Morgan, Landon Tucker, and we had to restart. But anyway, this state championship run, I knew that we had a pretty good shot. The coach of the year was really, really nice. But again, I've been blessed, won a few of those. But Zach, because I know like some people, like that wouldn't be a big deal. Like that guy is about competing and being the best. Like he didn't make first team all region. He didn't make first team all state. And I kept saying, Zach, you are what you are. Like that's just people voting.
Right.
And then he made player of the year.
Right.
He trumped it all. I said, it's going to work out. And it also proves we had kids fill up the all state teams, all region teams. And what it shows is, when a team succeeds and everybody's unselfish, they individually get rewarded. They get to go play college. More guys play college. More guys win awards.
Right.
Even me, like I won it because the team. So it's like when everybody's trying to win an award, you're not good. You just, if you're trying to win a Heisman, you're not helping your team. You need to do what you need to do, and then you win the Heisman.
Makes sense.
Bryce Young won the Heisman because he ran Alabama's offense really, really well.
To the T.
If he goes out trying to do crazy stuff, trying to win the Heisman, he's not going to win the Heisman, and Alabama's not going to be good.
So true.
So it's the same way in baseball. Zach didn't set out to do that, but because he did it and did his importance to us and all that, he ends up, everybody gets glory when the team gets glory.
That's true. That's true.
And that's in a selfish world.
I mean, right.
It's a selfish world. Everybody wants, hey, if your son's good enough to play college, I promise you, I'll get him. You know what I mean? There's no need to be selfish. Like, I've had guys sign that didn't start. They rolled in. Because I know the people to help make it happen.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the beauty of LaGrange High. That might be recruiting by me saying that, but it is a fact.
But you believe what you believe.
I can pick up the phone and call the coach at Georgia. He's on my phone. I got Auburn, Mississippi State, whatever. So if your son's great, the greatness is going to come. Plus, they play travel so that, there's more opportunity.
On top of it. So, Coach, man, I'm tell you, man, so at the end of every show, man, I always tell the guests to lead the viewers and the listeners something positive. Man, give them something, Coach.
Well, I'd say the main thing is, first of all, I'm going to give you our mantra again.
Okay.
Because I think it holds true in everything. I talked to Nick Burns a lot, who's really close to me. A former player who's a very successful businessman. The standard is the standard. I would advise people to be that way in whatever you do in your business, in your school, in your Christian walk, whatever you do, there's a standard of what you need to do, and the standard does not drop. It is your job and anybody involved in your organization or your group's job to meet that standard.
Man, I like that.
And or raise that standard, you know. I mean, and I'm telling you, that is a simple mantra, but if you think about it, if you have a team and the standard is if they hit a ground ball through the infield, you have to dive to catch it. Like, that's our standard. Like, if a ball rolls through our infield, our standard is our infielders have to dive for that ball. We're not going to change it.
Right.
If you don't dive for it, somebody is on your tail. Hopefully it's the guy beside you. If he's not, then I'm on his and yours. So if you hit a ball and you know you're out, you know how you hit a pop-up? What do you want to do when you hit a pop-up? You want to pout, you want to throw your bat, you want to cuss, you want to jog, all those things. The standard is you got about a half a count to be sad, drop your bat, and sprint down that line. That's the standard.
I like it.
Because guess what? You don't want to be standing there. What if they drop it? So there's a standard in everything. If you look at it that way, like, I'm not gonna, like, we don't argue with umpires.
Right.
If I see you turn around and look at a grown man and argue, that's not what we do.
Not the standard.
He's an adult.
Right.
You're not.
Right.
You respect them. You respect the game. So that's, like I say, that's our mantra. I say it to the kids all the time. I text it to them. I give them quotes and all that. And we try to live it. And, you know, it's the best way to put it. It's not my job to lower it. It's your job to meet it.
Meet that thing.
And that can hold true if I'm coaching a travel team, if I'm running a business, if I'm my family, whatever.
Standards.
You set a standard.
Man, Coach, I tell you what, man, I doggone, man, been enjoying, like I said, shoot, I've been knowing you for a little minute, man. But I've been enjoying this. You know, I appreciate you coming in, you know what I'm saying, dropping your story on the people, man. I know they're going to enjoy this thing, man.
Well, I appreciate you having me. And also, I want to thank you. You've done a lot for my guys and me. And appreciate what you do for the kids.
Yes, sir.
And our players, but really the whole community.
I appreciate it,
Appreciate
Coach.
what you do.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that, Coach, man. Hold on, come on, show him that ring, man. Y'all see that ring, baby? And he got some more. And he got more. So listen, man, thank y'all for tuning in for another episode, man. And y'all know what it is, baby. Zip them up.